The storm is real, the chaos is loud. The insults, the betrayal, the setbacks, they all hit like bricks. But your job is simple. Act as if nothing affects you. Why? Because weakness is a choice. Pain is inevitable, but how you respond is your power. The world is watching, waiting to see if you'll break. You show them silence. You show them stillness. You show them nothing. And in that nothing is everything. Greatness doesn't wear its emotions on its sleeves. Power doesn't tremble. It doesn't whine. It doesn't explain. It stands, stoic, unbothered, steady like stone. You want to rise? Then master one thing, your reaction. Everything in your life will test you. People will lie. Friends will leave. Failures will mount. And still, your strength is measured by one thing. Did you flinch? The answer better be no, because every time you stay composed, every time you stare chaos in the face and don't blink, you build something indestructible inside you. The masses cry. The strong grind silently. The world is addicted to reacting. Don't be like the world. Be the one who responds with action, not emotion. They laugh at you, you keep building. They doubt you, you keep rising. They try to break you, you don't even blink. You become the thing they cannot understand, and the thing they can never break. You weren't born to be weak. You weren't made to explain your pain to anyone. You were built to win, built to dominate, built to remain unshaken in the face of anything. Let them see your victories, not your emotions. Let them watch your silence and hear it louder than any outburst. That's how legends operate. Act like it never hurt, or act like it doesn't faze you, because in doing so, you train the mind, you harden the will, and eventually, it's no longer an act. It becomes who you are, a force, unmoved, unbreakable. They'll call you cold, good. They'll call you emotionless, perfect. Let them, because while they react, you rise. While they whine, you work. While they burn out, you build. Power belongs to the one who doesn't flinch, the one who doesn't give away his energy, the one who keeps his vision clear, his heart armored, and his actions loud. That's who wins, every time. Act as if nothing affects you, because the truth is, if you can master that, nothing ever truly will. You were not put on this earth to be a puppet of your emotions. You were not born to be yanked around by fear, doubt, anger, or sadness. Those feelings exist, but they do not rule. They are signals, not commands. They are tools in your mental toolbox, not the hands that guide your path. You must learn to hold your emotions like a sword. Wield them when necessary, but never ever let them swing on their own. You are the master, not them. That's the difference between the average and the exceptional. The average man lets a bad morning ruin his entire day. One insult, one failure, one look from someone else, and his whole identity crumbles. But the exceptional man, the man who wins, doesn't care what the world throws at him. He understands emotions are natural, but weakness is optional. That man feels the fire but walks through it. He hears the noise but stays focused. He is not blind to emotion. He just refuses to bow to it. Every time you let anger control you, you give away your power. Every time you let fear stop you, you hand the keys to your future to someone else. Every time you let sadness stall your grind, your vision fades. But when you pause, when you hold your reaction, when you tell your emotions not today, you take back the wheel. That is where true dominance begins. Not in pretending to be a robot, not in killing your feelings, but in commanding them. In using them like a general uses soldiers, with discipline, with strategy, with absolute authority. The world will tell you to just feel your feelings, and they're right. Feel them. But do not worship them. Do not mistake emotion for truth. Your feelings will lie to you. They will tell you you're not good enough. They will whisper that it's too hard. They will scream that quitting feels better than failing again. And if you listen to that voice, if you let it speak louder than your purpose, you'll lose. Not because you weren't capable, but because you gave emotion a throne it didn't earn. Powerful men, focused men, high-achieving men, they feel fear, but they move forward anyway. They feel pressure, but they keep showing up. They feel everything, but they act on purpose, not on emotion. That's what separates them, not their talent, not their luck, their self-control. The ability to say, I feel this, but I won't let it lead me. People think strength is about how loud you shout, how angry you get, how hard you punch back, but true strength is the silence you keep when everything is screaming inside you. It's the restraint you hold when your ego wants to fight. It's the calm you show when chaos is crashing into your life. That's not weakness, that's mastery. And it's rare because it's hard. The world doesn't reward emotional outbursts. It doesn't pay you for breakdowns. It doesn't elevate the unstable. It promotes the unshaken, the level-headed, the composed, the man who keeps his eyes locked on his mission no matter what storm rolls in. That's the man they follow. That's the man they trust. That's the man who builds something worth remembering. You want to change your life? Stop reacting. Start deciding. Stop flinching. Start focusing. When something hits you, pause. Breathe, think, then act. Not from the place of feeling, but from the place of power. Emotion wants you to move fast. It wants you to rage, to quit, to collapse. But discipline tells you to wait, to plan, to strike with precision. You are not a victim of your environment. You are not at the mercy of mood swings. You are not some emotional passenger with no control over the wheel. That's a lie the weak tell themselves. But not you, not anymore. From this moment forward, you reclaim control. You take your emotions off the throne and put purpose in its place. You learn to act regardless of what's going on inside. Because the man who acts when he doesn't feel like it is the man who eventually becomes unstoppable. Let the world be noisy. Let the crowd be emotional. Let them shout, cry, break, and beg. You stay focused. You stay disciplined. You act like a soldier of your own mission. The more you do that, the more the old version of you fades away, and in its place rises a new force, one that no setback can shake, no insult can sting, no failure can stop. That force is born the moment you decide, I will use emotion, but I will not serve it. This is how you build unbreakable character. This is how you earn respect, not by demanding it, but by living in a way that commands it. Not by controlling others, but by mastering yourself. Every man who became a legend started with this, the decision to rule from the inside out, the strength to stay still when others panic, the fire to keep pushing when everything inside says stop. You have that in you. But it's buried under excuses, under habits, under years of giving in. Now is the time to dig it out. Now is the time to rise. Let them feel sorry. Let them overthink. Let them drown in moods. You move forward. You don't chase peace. You become it. You don't seek validation. You generate it. And you don't wait to feel strong. You act strong. Because strength doesn't begin with muscle. It begins with mindset. The mindset that says, I don't follow emotion. I lead it. In the heat of battle, the calmest man is always the most dangerous. Not the loudest, not the one who reacts first, but the one who watches, thinks, and waits. Calm is not weakness. It is pure, refined strength. The world has been trained to believe that noise equals power, that shouting wins arguments, that speed guarantees success. That's a lie. Real power doesn't panic. It doesn't flinch. It doesn't rush. It calculates. It holds still while everything else spins, because the one who stays calm owns the moment. You will be tested. You will be lied to, betrayed, underestimated, pushed around. People will try to provoke you, distract you, draw you into chaos. That is the trap. They want your reaction. They want your energy. The moment you react emotionally, you lose control. They win, not because they were right, but because they pulled you out of your center. When you lose your calm, you hand over the steering wheel of your life. But when you stay calm, you stay in control. You hold your ground. You see with clarity. You respond with precision. In every high-stakes situation, the person who breathes slower, thinks clearer, and speaks less wins. Because calm people don't just endure pressure, they thrive in it. They operate above it. They're not distracted by noise or pulled by panic. They act with intent. While others are caught in emotional reactions, the calm one executes with focus. That's not just powerful. It's unstoppable. People think calmness is just about stress management. They think it's for peace, for balance. No, calmness is a strategic weapon. It gives you the edge when emotions would wreck the average man. Every time you stay calm, you gain leverage. You see what others miss. You notice details. You hear what wasn't said. You spot weakness, opportunity, timing. The man who stays calm can read the room, anticipate the move, and strike without warning, not out of anger, but out of pure mental clarity. This is how leaders rise. This is how empires are built, not by chaos, but by calculated composure. It's not that calm men don't feel rage. It's that they don't waste it. They store it, refine it, and turn it into action. The loudest person in the room isn't the strongest. He's the one trying to prove he matters. But the calm man, he knows who he is. He doesn't perform. He doesn't need to show off. He walks in power, not performance. And that kind of presence is terrifying to the weak. They don't understand how someone can be so still, so focused, so unmoved by pressure. They don't understand that calm is born from mastery, and mastery doesn't come from reacting. It comes from relentless control of your mind, your body, and your mouth. You can train calm. Every time life pushes you, don't push back. Step back. Breathe. Think. Choose. When the pressure builds, hold the line. When things get loud, stay silent. Let your calm be the signal to yourself that you're in control. Let it be the standard. When people scream at you, insult you, challenge you, don't respond with fire. Respond with silence and strategy. Because calm isn't about shrinking. It's about knowing exactly when and how to strike without wasting energy on noise that doesn't move you forward. That calmness becomes your armor. It protects you from being manipulated, from saying things you'll regret, from making decisions you'll undo. Calm creates space, and in that space, you gain vision. You start to move from reaction to purpose, from noise to clarity. That's how you separate yourself, not by competing with chaos, but by refusing to enter it. Let the world burn around you. You remain still. That stillness becomes power. That power becomes respect, and that respect turns into results. People admire the ones who don't panic. They follow the ones who don't fold. Think about the generals, the CEOs, the leaders people trust in times of crisis. They aren't the ones who explode. They're the ones who speak slowly, move deliberately, and radiate certainty. Not because they know every outcome, but because they've trained themselves not to break under pressure. That's the model. That's the standard. And it's yours to claim if you commit to calm like it's a discipline, not a mood. Calm is earned. It's earned through patience, through experience, through constant self-control. Every time you hold back when you want to lash out, you grow stronger. Every time you let go of control over others and focus on control over yourself, you rise higher. Calm doesn't make you passive. It makes you precise. Calm doesn't make you soft. It makes you strategic. And when you live this way, people don't just notice, they adjust. They learn not to play games with someone who doesn't flinch. They learn not to test someone who doesn't blink. Because you can't be manipulated when you've mastered your own state. You want power? Then kill the urge to rush. Silence the need to prove. Replace speed with direction. Replace volume with certainty. Let your calm do the talking. Let your results do the shouting. You are no longer here to react. You are here to conquer. Calmly, relentlessly, without apology. Because the man who walks in calm walks with clarity. And the man who walks with clarity wins while others waste themselves in the fire. When the world is watching, how you carry yourself matters more than what you say. Stand still when others shake. Speak little when others ramble. Show zero reaction when the pressure rises. That's not acting. It's engineering your mind from the outside in. The body obeys the mind, but the mind also obeys the body. And when you control your external posture, your internal power begins to rise. Outward composure builds inner strength. It's not a trick. It's a principle. They want to see you break. They want to read your face, catch your emotions, pull your energy. You give them nothing. Let them wonder. Let them project. Let them talk. Your silence is your wall. Your stillness is your shield. And every time you choose composure over reaction, you gain something deeper than peace. You gain discipline. That's the foundation of every great man's strength. He does not flinch. He does not fumble. He stands tall even when he wants to fall apart. The mistake most people make is thinking confidence comes from the inside. No, it's created step by step in how you carry yourself. You hold your head up even when you doubt. You keep your tone steady even when you're afraid. You move with intention even when everything inside is uncertain. And the more you act like strength, the more your mind begins to accept it as truth. That is how warriors are built. Not through comfort, not through emotion, but through posture, presence, control. Pain will come. Struggles will test you. Life will hit you in ways you never expected. But your weapon is stillness, not pretending everything's fine, but refusing to collapse. Let the pain live in silence. Let your hurt sharpen your edge. You don't need to prove you're strong. You just need to refuse to fold. Outward composure is not arrogance, it's armor. And every day you wear it, you harden your resolve. You rise above the noise. You become untouchable. Weakness loves to express itself loudly. Strength doesn't. Strength is quiet, consistent, immovable. That's why it's rare. That's why it's respected. People follow those who can remain grounded when the world is on fire. And you don't need to feel strong to be that person. You just need to act strong again and again until your actions become identity. You can rewire your character by mastering your reactions. And once you've done that, the chaos outside can no longer shake the power you've built inside. You don't need to react to every challenge. You don't need to respond to every insult. You don't need to fix every misunderstanding. The one who carries calm with consistency creates presence, and presence is influence. Influence is power. That power comes from self-mastery, not by letting the world dictate your state, but by declaring it yourself. That declaration happens in silence. It happens when you walk away instead of lashing out, when you nod instead of arguing, when you breathe instead of snapping. Control is built like a muscle. You train it, and the training begins with how you hold yourself under pressure. Do you shift your posture when things go wrong? Do you lower your voice or raise it? Do you slow down or speed up? Every movement teaches your brain what kind of man you are, so teach it strength. Teach it discipline. Teach it presence, not when things are easy, but when your world feels like it's breaking. Because if you can hold yourself together on the outside, you give yourself space to gather strength on the inside. That's where true power comes from. Not emotional explosions, not loud declarations, but cold, calculated composure. That composure rewrites your mind. You start believing in your own restraint. You start trusting your own silence. You stop needing validation, applause, comfort. And when you reach that level of self-control, your enemies can't touch you. Your obstacles can't scare you. You've already won the real battle, the one against your own impulses. You don't become unbreakable by avoiding hardship. You become unbreakable by learning to hold your face steady while your heart pounds, by walking forward while fear screams at you, by never letting emotion make decisions for you. That's what makes you formidable. That's what builds character so deep it becomes legacy, not words, not emotions, actions rooted in discipline, repetition, control. Composure is not about hiding, it's about owning your response, owning your space, owning your identity. That identity is sculpted every time you choose not to react, every time you move with quiet purpose, every time you outlast the chaos without letting it stain you. And eventually what started as effort becomes instinct. You no longer have to act composed, you are composed, and the world will see it, they'll feel it, but more importantly, they won't know what to do with it. Because the man who remains unshaken creates a new reality, one where strength is not performed, but embodied. The world doesn't respond to your intentions, it responds to your reactions. It watches how you move when you're tested. It studies your behavior under pressure. And whatever energy you project, the world reflects it right back. Show anger, you attract conflict. Show weakness, you invite dominance. Show calm strength, and suddenly people treat you with respect, because the world is a mirror, not a mind reader. It doesn't care what you feel. It responds to what you show. You train people how to treat you by how you respond to everything. Panic once, and they'll always expect you to break. Complain once, and they'll see you as fragile. Snap once, and they'll know where to poke next time. But hold firm in the storm, and they'll start second-guessing themselves. Speak with control while they scream, and their power fades. Walk away from provocation, and they realize they can't reach you. You didn't ask for respect. You earned it with your restraint. The man who reacts emotionally gives away his position. He shows his hand. He reveals his triggers. And in a world full of opportunists, that's dangerous. But the man who reacts with purpose keeps control. He turns chaos into chess. Every move he makes is measured. Every word he speaks is deliberate. Because he knows the power is in the pause. The ability to breathe before responding isn't weakness, it's wisdom. It says, I'm not here to play games, I'm here to win. You want the world to respect you? Stop reacting like everyone else. They gossip, you stay silent. They rush, you move with purpose. They beg for validation, you remain self-assured. It's not about pretending, it's about commanding. Every time you stay centered, you build presence. That presence changes the way people approach you. Not because you told them who you are, but because you showed them through how you handle pressure, insults, failure, and success. The world is watching, and more importantly, it's mirroring. You show desperation, it multiplies. You show confidence, it reflects. You show discipline, it responds. That's why your reactions matter more than your words. People don't believe what you say about yourself. They believe what you prove under pressure. You tell them nothing. You give them nothing. You hold the frame. The frame is everything. Whoever controls the frame controls the outcome. And the one who controls their reaction always holds the frame. This doesn't mean suppressing emotion. It means channeling it. It means recognizing that a quick reaction is almost always a weak one. The world throws problems at you like tests, and every reaction becomes either proof of your strength or evidence of your weakness. You choose which story gets written. If your reaction is calm, focused, grounded, the world starts treating you like a pillar, because people lean on those who don't bend. Even in silence you speak. Your body, your tone, your timing, they all communicate something. Let them communicate certainty. Let them communicate unshakable control. That doesn't mean never speaking up. It means never speaking in haste, never moving from fear, never reacting without purpose. The man who speaks less but acts with precision always holds more power than the one who speaks loudly with no direction. Because noise doesn't move the world. Presence does. You can walk into any room and shift the dynamic just by your energy. If you bring stillness, others settle. If you bring focus, others follow. But if you bring chaos, others escalate. The room becomes a reflection of your energy. That's how powerful your reactions are. That's why the man who remains neutral in war commands both sides. Because he's not emotionally invested in the chaos. He's grounded in his purpose. And purpose always wins over emotion. You want to level up? Master your reactions. Every setback is a test. Every insult is an invitation. Every challenge is an opportunity. Not to show how loud you can get, but how controlled you can stay. Not to prove a point, but to prove your standard. That standard teaches the world how to treat you. It tells people what's acceptable and what's not. It sets the tone. And if you hold that tone long enough, others fall in line, not because you forced them, but because you led them with presence. Power doesn't scream. It whispers through your composure. It commands through your posture. It leads through your reactions. And the more you react with strength, the more the world bends to your influence. You don't need to manipulate people, you just need to master yourself. The external world will always echo the internal world, so build a fortress inside. Build discipline so deep that nothing shakes it. Build focus so sharp that nothing distracts it. Build composure so strong that nothing cracks it. That's the game. That's the path. The world will reflect back exactly who you decide to be. So be unshakable, be clear, be composed, not for their approval, but for your evolution. Because when you hold the line, the world moves around you, not the other way around. Emotionless does not mean empty, it means controlled. It means unshaken. It means you've trained yourself not to be driven by impulse, not to be ruled by sudden waves of feeling, not to let every rise of anger or fear command your next move. Being emotionless is not about lacking heart, it's about mastering it. It's about building a wall between what you feel and what you do, so the world never gets the privilege of watching you unravel. People confuse silence with weakness. They think stillness means numbness. They see a calm face and believe there's nothing underneath. But the strongest men have oceans inside them. Rage, love, fear, ambition, all raging under the surface. What separates them from the weak is simple. The weak let it spill everywhere. The strong don't. They don't broadcast what they're feeling. They harness it. They refine it. And they act only when the action matters. The man who appears emotionless is often the man who feels the most, but has learned to carry it without letting it break him. He has faced the pain. He has swallowed the fire. And instead of letting it consume him, he turned it into focus. That focus becomes his weapon. It sharpens his decisions. It directs his energy. He doesn't act from impulse. He acts from principle. And in a world full of emotional outbursts, that makes him dangerous. Because every time you let emotions lead, you make decisions that serve the moment, not the mission. You react instead of respond. You give power to people who didn't earn it. You make enemies who weren't even threats. But when you cut out the need to express every emotion, when you strip away the performance, you become leaner, clearer, stronger. You start seeing with precision. You stop being pulled into battles that don't matter. And that clarity becomes your greatest asset. This isn't about shutting down. It's about locking in. The emotional man is constantly drained because he's constantly leaking. His anger leaks in his tone. His fear leaks in his eyes. His desperation leaks in his choices. But the disciplined man, he feels all of it, yet reveals none of it. And because of that, no one can read him. No one can trap him. No one can manipulate him. They can't touch what they can't access. And he doesn't offer access to anyone. Control over emotion is not a mask. It's a message. It tells the world, I am in charge of myself. I don't owe you an explanation. I don't owe you a reaction. I move when I choose to move. That type of restraint is rare. That type of silence is power. It forces others to adjust. It unsettles them. They're used to people flinching, explaining, defending, cracking. But you, when you stand still, when you look through the noise, when you speak only when it matters, you set a different tone. And that tone becomes influence. You don't need to prove you care by displaying emotion. You don't need to show tears to validate your pain. You don't need to explode to prove you're serious. Let them think you're cold. Let them assume you're distant. Let them misread you. Because while they're trying to figure you out, you're 10 steps ahead. You're not here to be understood. You're here to be effective. And effectiveness comes from emotional discipline, not from emotional expression. You want to build something unshakable? Then don't let every feeling steer the wheel. You want to win long term? Then stop reacting like it's personal. It's not personal. It's strategic. Every setback is data. Every insult is noise. Every failure is feedback. Feel it, learn from it, then lock it away. Don't show it. Don't carry it. Don't wear it like a badge. Turn it into fire and focus. Turn it into fuel. Being emotionless does not make you dead inside. It makes you alive and untouchable. Because the man who can feel everything and still act with precision is the man who wins in silence while others are distracted by their own emotions. This world doesn't reward sensitivity. It rewards strategy. And strategy demands control. The kind of control that comes only when you refuse to let feelings dictate direction. There's strength in stillness. There's power in pause. There's clarity in calm. And when the storm hits, the one who remains unshaken is not the one who felt nothing. It's the one who felt everything and still chose discipline. He still chose purpose. He still chose the higher path. Not because it was easy, but because it was necessary. He knows that expressing everything isn't power. Controlling everything is. So when the world calls you cold, let them talk. When they say you're distant, let them wonder. You owe no one your emotions. You owe yourself progress. And that progress demands a new standard. One where your focus speaks louder than your feelings. One where your silence holds more weight than their screams. One where your discipline drowns out every distraction. Control how you respond. Control your reality. That's the truth most people never grasp. They blame the outside world, point fingers, scream at circumstances, cry over what's unfair. But the game was never about what happens to you. It was always about what you do with it. Every reaction is a vote a vote for who you are becoming. React like a victim, and life treats you like one. Respond like a warrior, and life starts to fold to your will. You want to shift your life? Don't beg for the world to change. Master the way you meet it. You don't need fewer problems. You need stronger responses. You need clarity under chaos, calm under pressure, direction when everything feels uncertain. Because life is a mirror. It gives back what you project. If your response is panic, the world becomes threatening. If your response is calm execution, the world begins to open up. Every door you want to walk through is guarded by your own reactions. You don't control events, but you control meaning, and meaning is shaped by response. Two people face the same failure. One sees defeat and quits. The other sees feedback and rises. What changed? Not the event, the response. That one difference rewrites their path. So understand this, your reaction isn't just a moment, it's a message to your future. It determines whether you break or build, spiral or sharpen, collapse or climb. Most people hand over their power without realizing it. They let emotion run the show. Someone disrespects them, they snap. Life delays them, they rage. Fear creeps in, they freeze. And with every triggered reaction, they lose a piece of themselves. Not because the world is cruel, but because they never chose to master their response. They never stopped to realize the first instinct is often the weakest one. True power is in the pause. In the space between stimulus and action, the real you is born. You don't rise by getting lucky. You rise by responding differently. When others get offended, you stay focused. When others blame, you look inward. When others give up, you get sharper. That's how you separate. That's how you dominate. Not by outshouting the world, but by out-centering yourself. Let them spiral. Let them react. You remain calculated. That control builds your reality, brick by brick, day by day. When you control your response, you're no longer at the mercy of emotion. You're no longer tossed around by circumstances. You become the anchor, the eye in the storm, the one who sees the path while others are blinded by rage or fear. And because of that, you move different. You speak with purpose. You don't chase validation. You don't flinch. You walk into chaos like it's a room you own. Not because it's easy, but because you've trained for it. You have to stop thinking control is about suppressing emotions. It's about owning them, feeling the storm without letting it steer the ship. That's what separates men who build from men who burn. Fire is inevitable, but do you let it consume you, or do you use it to forge steel? That's the choice you make every day, in every interaction, with every response, and that choice defines your reality. Reactions are habits. You can train them. You can rewrite them. You can turn panic into patience. You can turn anger into strategy. You can turn fear into action. But only if you stop justifying your emotions and start mastering them. The man who justifies every reaction will stay stuck. The man who questions them, reshapes them, refines them, that man transforms. He becomes the kind of force nothing external can control, because he already owns the battlefield inside. Most of the suffering people feel is not from events, it's from reactions. The overthinking, the dramatizing, the emotional outbursts, the instant gratification. These are internal habits that poison your potential, but when you gain control, that suffering ends. You start to see setbacks as training. You start to move with awareness. You stop wasting time on emotional noise and start creating results. Your reality tightens, focus sharpens, energy compounds, and you begin to live like a weapon, precise, deliberate, unstoppable. You can't fake this. You earn it, through repetition, through discipline, through moments when you want to break, but you hold, when you want to explode, but you redirect, when everything says react now and you say not yet. That's not suppression. That's command. That's leadership of self. And that kind of internal leadership creates an external reality most people will never experience. Peace under pressure, strength in silence, movement without wasted motion. Don't wait for the world to hand you power. Claim it in the space between the trigger and the response. That space is your kingdom. That moment is your chance. You control nothing else, not the weather, not the people, not the timing, but you always control the response. And if you dominate that one thing, it changes everything. Your energy, your influence, your reality. It all starts with the response. Stillness is the foundation of power. Not noise, not movement, not the desperate scramble for attention or control. True strength doesn't announce itself. It sits in silence, watching, waiting, calculating. It's not shaken by chaos, not swayed by opinions, not baited by emotion. Stillness is the signal that a person has conquered the war within. And only when you've won inside can you lead, build, or dominate outside. The average person is a slave to movement. They chase, they react, they scramble for answers, constantly in motion but going nowhere. They mistake activity for achievement, motion for meaning, noise for significance. But movement without direction is weakness in disguise. Stillness is not inaction, it's strategic restraint. It's the ability to stand unmoved while others panic, to hold your ground while others retreat, to act only when the time is right, not when the pressure demands it. The man who has mastered stillness is the most dangerous one in any room. He doesn't flinch, he doesn't explain, he doesn't need to be seen. His power is not performance, it's presence. You feel it before he speaks, because power doesn't scream, it radiates. And it only radiates from those who are deeply rooted in themselves, anchored in clarity, immune to external turbulence. The world can rage, and he remains centered. That's not coldness, that's command. Stillness is not weakness, it is control. Control of self, control of energy, control of response. Most people explode because they lack this control. They leak emotion, spill energy, waste time. They let every thought become a word, every feeling become an action. But the man who is still has trained discipline into his bones. He doesn't speak just to fill silence. He doesn't act just to feel important. He understands that energy preserved is power multiplied. He understands that the less he reveals, the more control he holds. Stillness gives you vision. When you stop reacting, you start seeing. You see patterns others miss. You see motives behind words. You see the game while others are still trapped in the noise. The battlefield becomes clear because you're not distracted by your own mind. Your thoughts don't pull you in every direction. They're tools, not masters. And in that stillness, the real moves begin. The ones with impact. The ones that shift everything. Look at the people who crumble. They're the ones who can't sit in stillness. They have to talk. They have to react. They have to run from silence because it exposes what they haven't dealt with. But the man who can sit alone in silence and remain strong, he's untouchable. He's not afraid of himself. He's not controlled by the need for validation. He doesn't need chaos to feel alive. He builds from peace. He creates from clarity. Stillness teaches you patience. Not the weak kind that waits endlessly. The sharp kind that strikes at the perfect moment. The kind of patience that knows when not to speak, when not to act, when to let others burn themselves out while you hold energy in reserve. The impatient burn fast and fade. The still ones build momentum until the world can't ignore them. That's the foundation of sustained power. Quiet control, precise timing, relentless discipline. In a world that rewards the loudest voice, choose to be the calmest presence. While they yell, listen. While they rush, observe. While they chase, build. Stillness isn't passive, it's positioning. It's refusing to be pulled by the world's rhythm and instead moving to your own. That's how you become unshakable. Not by overpowering everything, but by never letting anything overpower you. This discipline is forged, not found. You earn stillness through repetition, through reflection, through cutting out noise. You become still by removing the things that keep you spinning. Distractions, fake urgency, emotional overreactions. And once you build it, everything else aligns. Your decisions get cleaner, your energy gets sharper, your influence deepens. Because people don't follow the loud, they follow the solid. The ones who don't shift with the wind. The ones who don't break under pressure. Power flows to those who don't need to prove it. And those who built stillness don't need to say a word. Their presence is enough. Because presence built in stillness holds more weight than 10,000 words spoken in panic. When you sit still, you make space for clarity. You make space for strategy. You make space for real power to rise. Not borrowed power, not emotional energy, lasting power, built from the inside out. Don't mistake stillness for passivity. It's the most active form of control. It says, I move when I choose. I act when it's time. And until then, I hold the line. In stillness, you learn patience without stagnation, calm without indifference, action without reactivity. You become the kind of force that doesn't chase anything but attracts everything. Not because you wanted it, but because you became immovable. And in a world that's constantly trying to pull you out of your frame, your stillness becomes your fortress, your shield, your edge. Not because you need to hide, but because you've chosen to rise from a place of strength no storm can reach. Your legacy is built on self-control, not on emotion, not on reaction, not on how loud you are or how fast you move. Legacy isn't shaped by moments of rage or bursts of excitement. It's built in the quiet decisions, the ones you make when no one's watching, the ones where you choose discipline over indulgence, restraint over impulse, purpose over pride. That's the ground where greatness is grown, inside the space where most people lose themselves. The man who can command himself becomes a giant in a world full of chaos. Because while others are ruled by mood and moment, he stands rooted. He doesn't chase every feeling. He doesn't bow to every urge. He walks his own line, not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. He knows every move he makes is a brick in the house of his legacy. He knows one weak reaction can burn down what took years to build. So he sharpens himself daily. He builds a life that answers only to vision, not temptation. Self-control is not about denying life. It's about mastering it. You don't eliminate desire, you direct it. You don't silence emotion, you channel it. That's the edge. That's the power that turns ambition into impact. When a man can delay gratification, control his words, and act from purpose rather than pressure, he becomes unstoppable, because the world throws the same tests at everyone. But only the self-controlled pass them consistently. Only they know how to turn distraction into focus, insult into fuel, struggle into discipline. You will never build something that lasts if you are constantly reacting to critics, reacting to fear, reacting to failure. The legacy makers, the ones whose names echo long after they're gone, are the ones who owned their behavior, who responded with precision instead of panic, who chose their path, then walked it without letting the noise detour them. That takes restraint. That takes clarity. That takes a level of self-respect most people never cultivate. There's power in not saying everything you feel, in not doing everything you want, in not needing to prove yourself every second, power in the pause, power in silence, power in waiting until the move is right. That's what separates leaders from followers, legacy from mediocrity. Every time you choose control, you multiply your influence, you expand your presence, you raise your standard. And in doing so, you leave behind something bigger than opinion, something built from character. Self-control is the foundation of every long-term success story. It's what keeps the champion training when no one's clapping. It's what keeps the visionary building when no one believes. It's what keeps the warrior steady when the world starts to fall apart. Because pressure exposes weakness, but it also reveals mastery. The man who stays composed under fire, who chooses response over reaction, who holds his mission above his mood, he becomes a pillar. He becomes someone people trust, follow, remember. The world is watching even when you think it isn't. People study how you respond, how you carry yourself when it's hard, how you act when you're tired, offended, doubted. That's where your legacy is decided, not when things go your way, but when everything is stacked against you and you still choose to stay aligned with your higher standard. Most people give that up for the temporary satisfaction of being right, being loud, being emotional, but that temporary satisfaction always costs permanent progress. You want to lead your family, your business, your life? Then rule yourself first. If you can't lead your own habits, your own mind, your own tongue, how will you ever lead anything beyond you? Self-control is leadership at its core. It's not about control over others. It's about never needing it. When you own your behavior, you never have to manipulate, chase, or dominate. You simply move with conviction, and the world adjusts The man who controls himself can't be rattled by gossip, by doubt, by disrespect, because his foundation is internal. His peace is protected. His mind is guarded. His time is intentional. That man builds legacies because he doesn't trade his vision for ego. He doesn't break under pressure. He doesn't lower his values to match the world's weakness. He rises, and because of that, everything around him rises too. You don't need applause to know you're on the right path. You don't need revenge to feel power. You don't need chaos to feel alive. What you need is structure, discipline, a code that governs you, not because it's popular, but because it makes you dangerous in the right way. The kind of danger that builds, not destroys, that commands respect, not demands it, that outlasts noise, time, and trend. And when your days are done, and your actions are all that's left to speak, it won't be your victories alone that define you. It'll be how you handled defeat, how you held yourself when tempted, how you stayed quiet when others would have exploded, how you kept going when others quit. Those moments are the ink in the pen of your legacy. And the more self-control you choose, the more power that pen will hold. Every moment you master yourself, every choice you make to rise above impulse, you build a legacy no one can erase. Control is not a burden. It is the birthright of those who refuse to be victims of circumstance. Your power lives in your discipline, your strength in your restraint, and your greatness in your unwavering commitment to your highest self. When you control how you respond, you control the story of your life. So stand firm, hold your ground, and build a legacy that will echo far beyond your time. Because self-control is not just the foundation of success, it is the foundation of immortality.